So everyone is still reeling from the blockbuster announcement that Microsoft was purchasing Activision-Blizzard. This is obviously the biggest purchase in video game history from a numerical standpoint of $70 billion, from a title standpoint because Activision-Blizzard represents so many games: Tony Hawk, Crash Bandicoot, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, StarCraft. Game franchises that have been around for a very long time are now under the Microsoft umbrella. And it was really going to be interesting to see what the fallout from this situation was as far as video game companies are concerned, primarily Sony with the PlayStation brand. We'll talk a little bit about how this impacts Nintendo towards the end of the video, but Sony was really the main company being impacted by this, because when you look at sales statistics of the NPD sales that tracks physical game sales in the United States, Call of Duty is always the best-selling game. And what game is Call of Duty? It's a first-person shooter owned by Activision, and it was actually the best-selling game for the PlayStation 5 in the month of December. So although, Twitter has sort of written off Activision Blizzard, we all know that Twitter isn't a real place, and the average consumer doesn't really follow all the scandals and the stuff going on with that. So this was going to impact Sony in a tremendous way, and it was going to be interesting to see how Sony reacted to this, what they said about this, and we already have what they said about it, and now Phil Spencer has responded to what Sony has said, and there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. Now, one of the big stories was the fact that Sony shares just absolutely plummeted. Sony shares went down 13% in Tokyo because of this announcement. And obviously, I don't really care about stock market stuff when it comes to video game companies. Companies plunge all the time. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. But obviously an announcement of this size is going to be detrimental to Sony. They lost a lot of money, and I'm not going to really get into that money aspect though, because Sony will easily recoup it. It's not like, it's going to stay down forever because of this announcement. But what I was more interested in seeing was how Sony responded to this. So according to Bloomberg, Sony gave a Sony spokesperson gave a statement to the Wall Street Journal on Thursday saying, "We expect that Microsoft will abide by contractual agreements and continue to ensure Activision games are multi-platform." Now that's obviously an interesting statement because there's a lot to unpack with that. Yes, it's only one sentence, but when you look at that one sentence, there's a lot of stuff going on here, because obviously this says Activision games are multi-platform and contractual agreements. Now, as far as contractual agreements are concerned, I could see a game like Call of Duty Warzone, which of course is kind of a separate entity from the mainline Call of Duty games now, still being available on PlayStation systems, because those agreements were made before this merger. But when it comes to individual games, I think that's where things get a bit murky, because I can't imagine that a Call of Duty coming out in 2 years already has a contractual agreement behind it as far as what platforms it's going to be released on. All because one Call of Duty game comes out on a platform, that doesn't mean it's going to come out on all platforms. Call of Duty came out on the Wii U with Call of Duty Ghosts, and then, kind of went away. You also got Black Ops on there too. But after Call of Duty Ghosts, there was no more Call of Duty games on the Wii U because, well, that contract was no longer valid. It seems like it's just going to be on an individual game basis. And to assume that all games going forward done by Activision and done by Blizzard are going to be multi-platform games, I feel is very naive. Games that have had a long development cycle, games that are still in development, yes, of course those are still going to come out on other platforms. Hell, what was the game that Sony had for the PlayStation 5 in the holiday season? It was Deathloop. Deathloop is a Bethesda game because of the contracts that were already done. But we already know going forward, Bethesda games are going to be exclusive to the Xbox. We're seeing it with Starfield, which allegedly comes out this holiday season upcoming. So to assume this and to assume that, it's obviously a very carefully worded statement. And due to this statement made by Sony, Phil Spencer has actually responded to it. And Phil Spencer said the following thing: "Had good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honor all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of the industry, and we value our relationship." Now, right there, it's pretty much what I just said. There should be red flags thrown up all over the place with this, because Phil Spencer is just carefully wording what he's saying. I want Call of Duty on PlayStation. Well, which Call of Duty? Are you talking about mainline Call of Duties, or are you talking about Warzone, which is already on PlayStation systems? I am tending to believe that he's talking about the Warzone side of things and not necessarily mainline contributions. He says they confirmed to their intent to honor all existing agreements upon the acquisition. I mean, of course, these acquisitions are already been made and these developments are already going on. These contracts have already been written up prior to the purchase. So Phil Spencer is essentially saying, yes, this is going to be like a Deathloop situation with Bethesda, where Deathloop was designed for the PlayStation 5. It came out on the Sony console like it was intended to, and then that's it. That contractual agreement is ended with Bethesda and Sony, and moving forward, it's going to be an individual case basis. Now, do I feel like, you know, all games done by Activision, all games done by Blizzard are just going to be Xbox and PC exclusives? I really don't. I think the bigger games, yes. I think, you know, the online multiplayer stuff like Overwatch, like I could see Overwatch still being a multi-platform game as far as Overwatch 2 is concerned. That's already in development. But a Call of Duty that comes out in 2 years, a mainline Call of Duty, if I'm Microsoft, I'm questioning why I would want this on Sony's platform. If this is the best-selling game on Sony's platform, yes, I'll make money, but I'll also force people to want to get a Microsoft-based console. Now, Microsoft says they don't care about console sales. They're more interested in allowing their games to be played everywhere. But if that was the case, I don't think they would have spent $70 billion on Activision-Blizzard. I don't think that they would go out of their way to spend all this money and then not want to use it on their own platforms. Because if that was the case, wouldn't all Bethesda games that are coming out be multi-platform? But no, we already know that they're not going to be multi-platform games, starting out with Starfield, because they want people to play in Microsoft's ecosystem. So it's a very interesting chess move done here by Microsoft. Now, of course, we could talk about the monopolistic side of things, where a lot of people feel like Microsoft is essentially creating a monopoly by purchasing all these companies. And is this just the start? Could they end up purchasing someone like Sega? Hell, even Nintendo, because this merger that they did, this acquisition, the company was actually valued more than Nintendo's company was valued at. So could we end up seeing something like that with bigger acquisitions down the road? You know, time will tell with it. It's obviously a huge thing, though. So much, in fact, that Sony is, you know, plummeting on the stock market. But like I said, I want to talk about the Nintendo aspect of this as well, because a lot of people feel like this is going to impact Nintendo. Should Nintendo be concerned? Should Nintendo be scared? And no, they shouldn't. I mean, if you know anything about Nintendo, they've always just marched to the beat of their own drum. It's not like Call of Duties are on the Nintendo Switch. A thing like a Tony Hawk remaster, that's probably going to be a multi-platform game, because it's not something that's going to make someone buy a console. It's going to be something that sells to a console base that already exists. But, you know, going forward, I think Activision games will be a lot more interesting, like a new Crash Bandicoot. I could see it coming out exclusive to Xbox, and then maybe down the road it ends up coming to the Nintendo Switch. But this is where the Nintendo and Microsoft relationship that started, what, 2 years ago, is starting to pay dividends, because they play ball with each other. They play nice with each other. Oh, you want a cross-platform game on here? Remember when Minecraft went cross-platform play on the Xbox and the Nintendo Switch? Like, that was a big deal, because you hadn't seen things like that before. Of course, Microsoft lending classic IPs to the Nintendo Switch with things like, of course, Banjo-Kazooie coming out on Nintendo Switch Online, which originally came out on the N64. Even newer games like Ori and the Blind Forest made an appearance on the Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo is probably good in this situation. The Activision games, you know, they're not heavy hitters on their platform anyway. Blizzard games, kind of the same thing, you know. They come out, they sell okay, but they're not like groundbreaking stuff. But when it comes to PlayStation, they are top tier selling stuff. They are major selling games. And yes, Twitter will sit there and say, I'm boycotting Activision. I'm never buying an Activision game again. Screw Blizzard. But when it comes down to it, the average consumer doesn't pay attention to what's happening on Twitter. They don't listen to the scandals and things like that. They're just going to buy what they want to buy. And you could think that's right. You could think that's wrong. I don't really care. It's just the facts. It's just how these things play out. So Sony, I don't think they need to be nervous. I don't think they need to be worried about this, because the strength of Sony, to me, has always been their first party games. You know, when you're talking about games like God of War, Ratchet and Clank, Horizon Forbidden West, you know, they have a lot of major games coming out that are exclusive to the PlayStation 5. But the third party side of things, you know, it's going to be interesting, because now that third-party library got a little bit slimmer. You lost Bethesda games, you lost Activision and Blizzard games, at least in the foreseeable future. So how is this going to play out for Sony? Is this going to be a major monumental shift in favor of the Xbox brand? I mean, really, time will tell. That's really what it boils down to. But I think if you release a mainline Call of Duty that's exclusive to the Xbox, I think Xbox Series X and S sales are going to skyrocket. You know, I really think like Call of Duty, as much as we like to talk shit about it, it's still a very popular franchise. It's still a game that sells very well. Activision could pretty much shit in a box, write Call of Duty on it, and people will go out of their way to buy this. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on here. You know, I'm very interested to see, you know, what sort of projects maybe Activision had in development before this merger that we haven't heard about yet. What's going to be the status of those as far as potentially being a multi-platform release, or maybe not. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this, because it's going to be absolutely crazy. You know, if this is what's starting out the year in terms of news between like this and the GoldenEye discoveries and stuff, it's like, wow, man, we're in for a wild ride in 2022. And I mean, I'm here for it, baby. This is why I'm here. So if this is your first time on the channel, thank you for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, like, comment, share, give me your thoughts, feedback, everything in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.